Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me here today. If you will, like, share, comment on the post, and then if you would like, you can join me in 1 Peter chapter 5, and we will be starting that chapter, verse number 1. So, in conclusion, Paul says, based on what all I've said, I exhort the elders among you as a fellow elder and a witness of the sufferings of Christ, as well as a partaker in the glory that is going to be revealed. Shepherd the flock of God that is among you, exercising oversight, not under compulsion, but willingly, as God would have you, not for shameful gain, but eagerly, not domineering over those in your charge, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the unfading crown of glory. Some of you are wise enough to know that and understand from hearing or reading over that passage that I will be talking to myself as much as anything, and other leaders. When he says elders, other leaders in the church. He says you are part of God's plan. You are part of God's system. You are part of what the military would call the chain of command. And so I think what he is saying to us, and what he is really challenging the leadership of the church to understand, is that for a church to be blessed, for a church to be used, for a church to be a lighthouse in its community, to be everything it should be, to experience the blessing of God, then the elders, the leadership of that church, and again, when he says elders, I don't think he's just talking about the pastor, but the leadership of that church have to be followers of Christ, have to be devoted to him, and have to be leading correctly. They have to be shepherding the flock. They have to be, again, taking care of the sheep, and and living correctly. They're leaders. They are to be the leaders. But again, much like we talked about back a few chapters ago, in the relationship of the husband and the wife, the shepherd is to be the shepherd. He's to be the leader. A shepherd doesn't go out in the pasture and take a vote among his sheep. What do y'all want to do today? The shepherd leads the sheep. That's his job. But the shepherd also doesn't go out in the field and take his staff and beat daylights out of the sheep and tell them, this is, get over here. Now he may occasionally have to take the hook on his staff and guide that sheep, or lead that sheep. But again, he does it compassionately, does it with love, because he reminds us here that the pastor, the shepherd, the elders, we're leading a church. We're leading a people that God loved so much that he sent his son, and his son died for them. And so it's a very tight rope that we are walking here in the church. Again, very similar to what we see in discussing the husband and wife relationship, and the being under subjection, but that doesn't make the husband a tyrant. Doesn't make the husband a slave driver. Yes, he's the leader, but he's not the boss. And so it's a very delicate walk for not only the shepherd to walk, but then the sheep themselves have to understand and respect that their leadership, their elders, whether it's the pastor or the leaders that God has placed in their church, have a divine responsibility before God, that they will give again an answer to God. And again, this last verse, he says, when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the unfading crown of glory. Well, logic demands that if a shepherd does what he says here, leads the sheep correctly, doesn't do it for shameful gain, isn't domineering, is an example to the flock, he says, you do that, and when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the unfading crown of glory. Well, again, logic demands that if he doesn't do that, if the shepherd, the elders, don't live and conduct themselves and lead their flock according to what he writes here, then there's obviously not a crown. There's not a reward. Instead, there would be discipline. There would be judgment for that. And so, this is a passage that challenges both the shepherd and the sheep. The sheep have a responsibility to be followers, to support, to encourage their shepherd. The shepherd has a responsibility to protect and lead the sheep well. And so this is a two-edged sword. It just really depends on which side you're on, the shepherd or the sheep. But either way, we're to do it for the kingdom. We're to be living for the kingdom, living for the glory, living in a way that brings honor to God. You think about it. All right? Have a great day. We'll see you here tomorrow morning.